Welcome back, I'm Alistair, and today I've got the On Cloudboom Strike. The On Cloudboom Strike is very much a super shoe, so it's a carbon fiber plated race day shoe, but this one's a little bit unconventional. And I'll explain what I mean by that very shortly. It runs incredibly fast, feels very comfortable, plenty of cushioning underfoot, and it's actually one of the more stable racing shoes out there right now. With that said, let's get started and kick off with the key specifications. They cost $280. I will let you know by the end of this review though, if I believe they're worth the price tag. They weigh 7.1 ounces or 201 grams. That's for size US men's 9, my pair. They have a drop of 4 millimeters from heel to toe, and that's a stack height of roughly 39.5 millimeters under the heel and 35.5 millimeters under the forefoot. Now, the one-piece upper is semi-transparent, it's very breathable, and it has this cage in the midfoot area. And what that does is help support your foot within the shoe, keeps it in place, and just gives you that little bit of extra support, feels really good, wraps your foot really well. The midsole is using Helion HF hyper foam material, and there is something extra special here. This is the thing that makes it unconventional, is it is using what On is calling a bounce board. Wait for it. This thing here, so it's a very thick insole made of foam that gives you that extra bounce and springiness and just makes the ride feel more protective, springy, and responsive. It actually works a lot better than I was expecting. There's also a carbon fiber speedboard, which you can actually see right there. That's the dark section within the shoe. And the bounce board sits directly on top of that spoon-shaped carbon fiber plate. The combination of layers work really well. It feels very snappy, and I like the fact it doesn't feel unstable. Now, the outsole is fairly minimal. There is rubber compound, of course, but the traction patterns on here, it's not incredibly deep, so I do wonder how the durability will fare. I mean, so far it's holding up a lot better than I was expecting. Traction has been really good so far. When it comes to sizing and fit, they do run true to size, and I say they have an accommodating medium width. So I think they'll fit most people really well. They're not a traditional narrow super shoe, which is awesome if you do have slightly wider feet. And it just feels really airy inside because of this breathable mesh upper. I really like how they feel for the most part. Sticking with the fit, I'm going to talk about the laces here because I feel like it's the best sort of place to mention this. The laces are very long, so if you do have higher volume feet, you're going to have less lace left over, but for most people, you're going to have a lot of flapping lace. And unfortunately, there's no garage or garage to store those laces in. There's no elasticated loop to tuck them into either. And these laces aren't the best at staying done up. One of my laces did come undone mid-run, which is really annoying when that happens. So the way you're going to get around that is doing them up super tight. Just do it as tight as you can and you should be fine. Or alternatively, just do a double knot and they definitely won't come undone then. The midfoot cage does a really good job of holding your foot within the shoe as well. But there is one thing that I don't like about the fit of this shoe, or the feel, and that's the inside of the heel counter here. So it's actually quite solid. There's not much give in it, and there's not any padding there either. So if you can hear that, I'm just tapping it. That gives you an idea of how that feels. If I tap this blue cushion section here, doesn't that sound more comfortable? Well, yes, that translates to how it feels as well. There's no give in the inside of this heel counter. So you do feel it on the back of your heel. Granted, you feel it a lot more if you are running more towards your heel and your heel striking. I did test this running on forefoot and heel. I tend to run more towards my forefoot and toe when I'm running fast in a super shoe like that. But you know, if you're running a marathon, you do get tired and you just want to actively recover. You want to sit back a little bit and run more towards your heel whilst you recover, and then you just go again. So during that period, you're going to feel this awkwardness at the back here, and I really do wish On would kind of add more padding there for the next version. But if you are running at speed, you're running more towards your forefoot and toe, you don't really feel that because your foot's more towards the front of the shoe. And to quickly mention here, the little collar pads, they're really nice, soft and cushioned around your ankle and the inside of your foot. And they also help keep your foot locked within the shoe. If you're enjoying this review so far, please give the video a like, share it with a friend, and comment on this video. I really appreciate it when you guys do that. Lets me know you're watching, you're engaged, you're enjoying the content. And I really want to make this channel a community space. I want to get your guys' input. I want to know your thoughts on the shoes I'm currently reviewing, or any other shoe for that matter. Just get the conversation going. And if you've got any questions at all, maybe it's about this shoe, or maybe you're just looking for a running shoe and you just don't know where to start, just drop those comments down below and I'll get you hooked up with the best shoes for you. I reply to everyone. And of course, subscribe to my channel for more running shoe reviews just like this one. I always keep things genuine, honest, and as insightful as possible to help you decide whether or not the shoe I'm currently reviewing is going to be best for you and your needs. But again, if at any point you've got a question, put it in the comments. All right, you made it to my performance review. I'm going to start by talking about how comfortable this one feels on the run. Because there are a lot of super shoes out there now, it's becoming very difficult to know which one to choose. So I often say to a lot of people, or I recommend, a shoe that feels really comfortable but doesn't sacrifice on performance. I'd say there's a lot more super shoes out there that perform incredibly well in terms of speed and getting you to the finish line as quickly as possible, but they lack comfort sometimes. And I'm talking about how the upper feels around your foot, how it supports your foot, the ride underfoot, how soft and cushioned it is, but also how stable that shoe is. There are a lot of factors that kind of contribute to comfort on the run. So that's where I'm going to start with this, because comfort is a key point. It's a key observation that I've made with this shoe. It is very stable when compared to some of the higher stack height super race day shoes out there. And I really like them for it. I get better ground feel, I feel more connected to the ground, and there's just less of a filter between me and the ground beneath, and it allows me to really tune into my own biomechanics. Rather than using a really large stack height to propel me forward, I like to initiate the plate more and use my toe muscles to actually get me there fast. Horses for courses for sure, but these ones do feel stable. There's plenty of cushioning underfoot. Most of it I feel like is actually coming from this bounce board here, which is very bouncy. It's springy. It does give you a nice amount of energy return and a little bit of snap on the run as well. So I really like what they've done there. Sometimes when you create almost like a modular shoe like this, the elements don't really mesh or gel together that well, but it works really well, this shoe. The carbon speedboard feels really good as well. It's not hugely stiff. I can flex this pretty well, and you do get a lot of energy return from that, which is really good to see. And it does feel very springy and enjoyable light on the run. I definitely feel the rocker geometry going on here as well, and that just really smooths out the foot roll from heel or mid-foot landing all the way to toe takeoff. It just feels very smooth and efficient. I don't feel like I'm getting any jolting movements, which can be very bad if you are running a marathon or you're just running long distance at speed in a shoe like this. You want an efficient foot roll, otherwise you're likely to pick up some kind of injuries in your knees or your joints from all that jolting. So it's very smooth, and the foam gives you nice shock absorption, but also bounce back and pop. The geometry certainly does favor more forefoot runners or toe runners rather than heel strikers, but that's the case for most race day shoes out there. Not everyone, by the way. There are quite a few that do perform very well for heel strikers too, but the majority, you are going to get more out of a shoe if you're running more towards your forefoot. And I mentioned this earlier, the reason for that in this shoe is because that really hard heel counter on the inside, it doesn't flex at all. So the more you are landing more towards the heel, the more you're going to notice that on the back of your Achilles. It's also a little bit less stable at the heel because the forefoot area is much wider and it's much lower to the ground. There's a lower stack there. So you're less likely to get any instability issues. The upper is incredibly breathable and I'm very grateful for that because right now I'm running in Florida summer heat, which is 40 degrees and incredibly humid. It is super hard training grounds. I don't think I've lived anywhere where it's this hard to train. So I'm getting a lot of gains from actually getting out there and putting the work in. I'm getting a lot back from that training, which is awesome. But I do need a shoe that is very breathable to be able to do that. So yeah, I appreciate the breathability here, and you will too if you run somewhere hot. Another thing I did notice was I did develop somewhat of a squeak, and I'm not entirely sure where this is coming from. It is happening towards the forefoot where I'm landing. I'll overlay a little clip here so you can get an understanding of what I mean. Now it's not particularly loud, as you can tell here, but it's there and I notice it and I just wonder why that developed over time. Maybe this little squeak will go away. Maybe it won't. It's a little bit annoying if it doesn't. Not a deal breaker for me because the shoe overall is fantastic. But if it does go away, I'm going to be running in these a lot more. I do love them. I've got a very nice, warm, welcome place in my shoe rotation because I love how they look and I love how they perform and they're very comfortable. But that squeak, if it does go away over time, I will update the comment section in this video and I'll let you guys know. And then finally, the traction. Well, it's been pretty good so far. I have run in some wet concrete areas and mostly dry areas, but I haven't had any slippages and it's performed very well so far. Now, if you're wondering where the On Cloudboom Strike lands in my best carbon-plated race day shoes roundup, where it ranks on there, then definitely follow that link up there. I'll put one in the description as well. That'll take you to my best carbon-plated race day shoes roundup on alistairrunning.com, and you'll get to see how this one ranks right now compared to all the other great race day shoes out there. Are they worth $280 then? Well, yes, I think they are. It's very expensive. You can get super shoes for around $250 nowadays, which are really good as well. But these are very lightweight, among some of the really lightweight ones out there. I love how breathable the upper is. I love how it looks. It performs very well. It's a very fast shoe and it's very comfortable, especially if you're running more towards your forefoot and you don't get affected by that heel counter, which I'm sure will soften up over time, but it's definitely going to take a while for sure because it is solid. But it's very comfortable and it's fairly stable as well. So you get a lot in this super shoe for $280. And if you love the premium On Running brand and you love how it looks, then yeah, definitely go for it. It's a high performer in my books right now, and I think it's worth $280 for most people. Well, that's it for my On Cloudboom Strike review. Really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give the video a like, make sure you comment, and subscribe to my channel for more running shoe reviews just like this one, and hit that notification bell so you get notified as soon as my next video drops. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.